One Gospel, Part 62. Jesus feeds the 5,000. The Jewish Passover feast was near. When Jesus landed and went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples, he looked up and saw a large crowd coming toward him. He had compassion on them and healed their sick, those that needed healing, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he welcomed them and spoke to them about the kingdom of God. He began teaching them many things. By this time it was late in the day, so his disciples came to him. "This is a remote place we are in," they said, "and it's already getting very late. Send the people away so they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat and lodging." But he said, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." He said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. They said to him, "That would take 8 months of a man's wages, and it would not buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" he asked. "Go and see." When they found out, they said, "We have here a boy with only 5 small barley loaves of bread and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many, unless we go and buy food for all this crowd?" "Bring them here to me," he said. And then Jesus directed them to have all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. He said to his disciples, "Have them sit down in groups of about 50 each." The disciples did so, and they sat down, for there was plenty of grass in that place, in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to his disciples to set before the people, and the disciples gave them to the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all, and he distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. They all ate and were satisfied. When they had all enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." And so the disciples gathered them and picked up 12 basketfuls of the broken pieces of the 5 barley loaves of bread and fish that were left over by those who had eaten. The number of men who had eaten there was about 5,000, besides women and children. After the people saw the miraculous sign that Jesus did, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world."